For years, there has been a debate within the gaming community between the two most common inputs, controller and keyboard and mouse. But what if I told you that you could combine the pros of each respective input and merge them into one single hybrid input that combines the advantages of both inputs respectively? That is what I'm going to explain. These are my keybinds for how I play Fortnite personally. My keyboard joystick setup that combines both controller and keyboard and mouse. Hello, my name is Variable, and if you're not familiar with me, I normally do a mix of Fortnite and music, specifically Zen harmonic content. But lately, I have been slowing down in being a content creator. But I am back, and in this video, I'm going to cover my weird keyboard joystick keybinds. So let's get started, shall we? Okay. First, you're like, well, how do you move in game? But here's the thing. I don't use WASD to move. I instead use the joystick. So you see, I use the joystick and I move my mouse to aim normally, just to look around. But for anything else, strafing related, like moving forward, left, right, or back, that's where the joystick comes in. So I can move forward, obviously, left, and I could get a good strafe angle, right, somewhere in the middle, back, and I could even kind of change my movement speed just a little bit. I could do it. Yeah, did you see that? I was just ball walking for a second. It is kind of hard, but it is possible. It is possible to ball walk. Okay. Go into my keybinds. So, the first thing you'll see are my movement binds. I have move forward as up arrow key, move left as left arrow key, move backward as down arrow key, and move right as right arrow key. Why do I have those bound, even though I use a joystick? Well, back in chapter 5, there was a keyboard joystick bug where the two inputs, controller and keyboard, they would glitch. Fortnite allows the use of both inputs simultaneously. You just have to set it up. But back in chapter 5, there was a glitch that didn't allow controller movement while using keyboard. So the quote-unquote fix for that was to bind up, down, left, and right, or WASD, but I don't do that. I find it more convenient to just use the arrow keys, to the joystick and make the joystick act like your WASD. Really, that's all it does. You just bind certain angles of the joystick to keyboard binds. And you could do that within this very cool software. Here, let me show it. It's very cool software called Anti-Micro. So as you see, in my Anti-Micro, I have left to left, right, it's gonna switch here, but it is right, up, and down, all of that. And this was a temporary fix back then. Now, obviously the movement is fixed as you don't need it, but I still have it bound for a reason. could, of course, unbind it, but I don't want to, and here's the reason. I'm going to play the console victory cash cups very soon. There was one yesterday I missed out on. I can't use this GMK joystick on my console. There is no support for it. If you go on the GMK website and you look, they're still working on console compatibility. I don't know when they're going to be done. So I'm thinking of investing in a Max stick, which is basically the same as GMK, except it can function on console, but only as a keyboard input, which I'm fine with. I just miss the keyboard joystick. I don't mind if it maps it as a keyboard. I really don't care. I just want the keyboard joystick movement that I'm used to, or what's similar to, right? On console. So right now, or most of the time, I am a PC player, but I'm gonna be competing in those console victory cash cups. So let's continue. That's why I have up, down, left, right bound. Force walk and force. Any of the force walk binds I do not have bound, so we can skip that. Crouch though is interesting. I have crouch on spacebar. You're gonna be like, what? Spacebar? Isn't that a weird bind? Well, in a way, yes, crouching with spacebar is pretty weird. But I have a reason for this. I naturally rest my joystick. See this little nudge here? I always put it in between the B and the N keys on my keyboard. So that way it's right there. Now, my natural resting positions here. My what would be WASD fingers are on now S, Z, X, and C. Rest them there. Spacebar crouching is perfectly normal to me. And also sliding. I could just do this. And yes, it's an index finger bind. I use my index finger to crouch. Most keyboard players use their pinky to crouch. But you might be wondering, well, how am I jumping then? Because I'm crouch spamming. Or crouch sliding. Well, let's go back into keybinds. We can skip sprint for now. And auto run. But I have jump on left control. And wait, left control? That was originally your crouch bind, or normal crouch bind, right? Yes. But I have it on left control. I jump with my pinky. I know you're gonna be like, why do you jump with your pinky? That seems pretty weird. It doesn't feel weird to me. And I'll also be explaining in this video that my binds were inspired by Keybinds' binds. If you don't know Keybinds, he's a very cool Fortnite content creator who also uses the keyboard joystick. My binds were kind of based off of his, but I just altered them slightly to my liking. So you might see a lot of similarities between my binds and his binds. Now, let's go back into keyboard settings. I jump with left control, and that's a pinky bind. Sprint is left shift, which is also a pinky bind. So I do this. And yes, you might be like, well, tactical sprinting and jumping with the same finger, isn't that unoptimal? In a way, yes, I'll admit, it is kind of unoptimal. But, some keyboard players do this, and there's a specific reason why. Some keyboard players say they have their, on normal WASD, they have their sprint bind on V, but they use spacebar to jump. And they do this, they kind of do this motion with their thumb. So yes, they're using the same finger, but they're pretty much used to it. They could kind of like tactical sprint jump. Kind of like this. Obviously, I don't have that motion, but I've just gotten used to this bind. And I don't plan on switching back anytime soon, because I'm very much used to it. I can just do that, right? Okay. Auto run is T. So T is here. It's just when I jump out of the battle bus and I don't want to move, right? I press T to auto run. Okay. Combat binds. Fire and target are your default binds. Left mouse button and right mouse button respectively. The reload bind, however, is F. Why is it F? Well, just think about it. If I was on WASD, your normal reload bind is going to be like R or something, right? I think that's default. Well, just move everything down 1 row. Then it becomes F. So, when I shoot my shotgun, I reload with F. Or when I use my AR bullets, I reload with F. And I do like reload on F, as it's an index finger bind, which I'm very comfortable with, and it has a nudge. So if I ever forget my button for reloading, I just find a nudge. So yes, I reload with F. Continue in the binds. Pickaxe, I have unbound here. I have it bound in another section, which I'll explain. We'll get back to the pickaxe in a second, because it's a very interesting bind for me. Weapon slot 1 is V. Right now, I have it on my grappler. So, weapon slot 1 is an AR slot when I have an SMG or something similar. It could also be a sniper slot or just a movement slot, right? It's that all-purpose slot. Okay, so if I were to have a full inventory of guns, say I picked up an SMG, so say I picked up the Veiled Precision, I would actually organize my loadout like this. Like this. If I had a Mammoth pistol, I would organize my loadout like this. There's a reason why, too. So, do that. See? So there are reasons. Okay, now let's go back. Weapon slot 2 is S. This is a very important bind. If I did not have anything in my inventory, say I dropped everything, this is my shotgun bind. This is my shotgun bind. It's a middle finger bind. Right? So say, I'm building, right? Say I'm building. And I piece someone up. I can just instantly pull out my shotgun just like that. I'm very used to this bind, and I don't plan on switching it anytime soon. I'm very comfortable with pulling out my shotgun with S. And it's a middle finger on it, which I'm fine with. Normally, your middle finger moves forward with W on a normal keyboard, or on a WASD type movement. But I don't use WASD, so my middle finger becomes my shotgun bind, which I'm very used to. Oh, and by the way, before I continue, shout out to the creator of this map, Sideflips. Absolutely goated content creator. I really hope, Sideflips, if you're watching this video, I really hope your map gets to the most popular map on Fortnite. I really hope so. I love this map. Thank you for making it. Anyways, before I forget, weapon slot 1 is an index finger bind. Just want to clarify, in case I didn't say it, which I probably didn't. Weapon slot 1, I press with my index finger, which is the same finger I crouch with. So you might be like, well, isn't that kind of bad? Well, yes, and that's where the second, or the next bind comes in. A, weapon slot 3. So when I just have an AR or an SMG, 2 weapons, shotgun, AR, SMG, I organize them like this. I move my AR from slot 1 to slot 3. An A is a ring finger bind. So I switch between my shotgun and AR kind of like this, which I'm very used to. So say I piece someone, right? And I could just spray real quick. I go up from the side, Peace, spread. Peace. Peace, spread. Right? That's how I roll. And it's a ring finger bind. Alright. The next bind is weapon slot 4. I have it on middle mouse button. So I know a lot of people are going to be saying this is unoptimal, but say I have a grappler here, and I put it here. I use my index finger to press it. I know that might seem very unoptimal. I'm used to it. Keybinds also does it, but I think he uses his ring finger to press it, which is actually more optimal than my index finger. I just can't get used to using my ring finger. I'm not used to it. It doesn't feel right for me because I've been pressing the middle mouse button or just scroll with my index for years. Ever since I started using a keyboard and mouse. Right? This is before video games. When I first touched keyboard and mouse to use a computer, I always use my index finger for the scroll with. So I just press in on my mouse to pull out weapon slot 4. But in this case, it's a grappler. So say I wanted to grapple cancel. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. There we go. So yeah. When I have like 3 items preferably, then yes, grappler does become weapon slot 4. It does. Okay. Next bind. Weapon slot 5, W. This is also a middle finger bind. Okay? This is a middle finger bind, and this is just a heal slot. Really, it's really not that important. So say if I were to... There's no heals in this map. Say if I were to grab heals, or if I pick the mammoth, then grappler would become W. That's it in the that's a middle finger bind, I'm sorry. So something like this. A middle finger bind. Alright. Weapon slot binds out of the way. I hope that explains why I had the binds the way I do. Let's go into the U's. I have two binds. E and scroll wheel up. You might be wondering why. Well, scroll wheel up is pretty broken. Or just scroll wheel pick up. So if I want to pick up all these weapons, I just scroll up on my scroll wheel, picking them up almost instantly. I love that. I love it. So, just do that. And then look, all the weapons are in my inventory. But sometimes I might want to switch a weapon. Say, I have a grappler, I want to switch it with my AR, right? Well then, scroll wheel does not work. Can't do that. So, I have hold to swap pickup. I hold down E, which is a middle finger bind for me. Normally it's an index finger bind for WASD keyboard players, but it's a middle finger bind. It'll never become an index finger bind for me. I can never see it. So, anytime I want to hold a swap, I just do this. It's a middle finger bind. So do that, right? That's my rationale for that bind. Scroll wheel pickup. If you're a new keyboard player, I definitely recommend it. It changes your game. You might be able to pick up weapons off spawn faster than if someone were clicking a key. Or obviously a controller player. Scroll wheel pickup is pretty useful. Now, toggle weapon canting and toggle scope mode, I have these on the default. I actually don't plan on changing these. Even though they are useful when you have scoped weapons, I just leave them at the default. Okay, now my building binds. Obviously crouch is spacebar, which I've already explained is index finger bind. My wall though, is this here. Let me make sure I'm showing my mouse to you. Is this bind here. Is this front side mouse button. that is my wall, and I use my thumb. So if I go back in Fortnite to pull up my wall, do that. It's pretty straightforward, right? So that's how I do it. Then the next bind is X. X is floor. This is a middle finger bind. Again, a middle finger bind. X for floor. I was telling you that I was inspired by Keybinds binds. He has the X and the Z keys actually flipped around. He uses Z for his floor and X for his cone. I originally had that, but I swapped them just to try it out, and I kind of gotten used to it, and I don't want to switch back. So yes, X and Z, they're switched, and I'm used to it already. I don't feel like switching back anytime soon. So X is my floor, and that's the middle finger bind. My stair bind, if you didn't see already, is this. The bottom mouse button is this one right here. This is my stair bind, which is also a thumb bind. So in Fortnite, obviously, if I want to pull up my stair, just do that. And then Z is my cone bind, and this is a ring finger bind. I'm very used to these binds. So if I start building, by 90, do this, 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 this. And I kind of got used to it. Obviously, I could triple, quad it, do all these crazy moves. I'm very used to it. Let me actually see if I could. Oh, hold up, chat. There we go. Oh, I almost got PC with it. Yeah, and I'm very used to it. I'm very used to playing like that. But you might be wondering, variable, why do you have F1 as a bind in your building? Well, that's switch quick bar. Supposedly, this might be placebo. It gives you lower input delay. This might not be true. That's why it says placebo. But I feel like it can work. So I just have it bound to a key I never can press. On the 60% keyboard, this Apex Pro Mini that I have, I can never press F1 unless I press the Steel Series key and then the 1 key. So I'll never press it. So it's just there. I never press it to build at all, if you're wondering. And then trap is G, and that is an index finger bind. Use my index finger. Place building is left mouse click, that is standard. Repair upgrade is tab, which I think I do use my ring finger. Actually, don't use as mine too. I don't believe I use my pinky finger for this one. I definitely use my ring finger. So let's say I'm building. Yeah, it's a ring finger bind. Rotate building. I have this the same as my reload bind, F, which is an index finger bind. Why? Because you're never going to be reloading while you have your blueprint out. You're never going to have to reload. So if I want to rotate a build, for example, I build up, double click, and go down, double click, up. See? Simple. Okay. Change building material is right mouse click, right mouse button. Same default bind. Building edit though, this is important. I have scroll wheel reset. Meaning, if I edit a wall like normal, say a peanut butter, pretend there's a person there. And I want to reset the wall. Obviously, you know this. Scroll. It just resets. It's one of the advantages of keyboard. It's definitely the scroll wheel reset. one of the many advantages. So I have that as scroll wheel reset, and I'll show you how I set it up. Anyways, for editing in general, I use C, which is the same bind that Martoz and Keybinds use. Same edit bind, which is an index finger bind. I always suggest having your edit on your index finger. It's your most dexterous finger. It's your strongest finger. It's the finger where you can do the most actions without feeling fatigued. So of course I have it on my index. Obviously. And unlike keyboard and mouse, while doing that, obviously on keyboard and mouse, when you're editing, you can't move right. Like this. You can't move right continuously. This is impossible on WASD. You can't maintain this continuous motion. But on keyboard joystick, I can. And just get into kind of like this. Kind of like doing this. Going down. Piece. 200. You can't do that normally. That is impossible on keyboard. If you have your index finger bind responsible for edit, as well as moving right. That is pretty bad, if you were to ask me. Not optimal at all. So, for that reason, I have it like that. And if to set up scroll wheel reset, in case you don't know, I have it as scroll wheel down, right? I have scroll wheel up for scroll wheel pickup, scroll wheel down for scroll wheel reset. You're gonna bind scroll wheel down as a secondary bind to your building edit, and a secondary bind to your reset building edit. Crouching while editing, obviously, is spacebar. Select building edit is left mouse button, that is standard. Reset building edit is right mouse button, but also the scroll wheel reset. Right mouse button? Why? In certain cases, I might not want to scroll wheel. Obviously, doing that is pretty good. But in certain cases, I may want to wait and then do another edit. So I click my right mouse button on purpose to do those sorts of edits. So if I want to make a new one, like that. Obviously I can just do that, but I think that takes a bit too long. So, just do that. Just do that. Just do that. Just do that. See? I have 2 reset binds. If you don't have that second reset bind, I recommend binding it. Alright. So building edit is done. Toggle check stat. Same bind, enter. But don't worry about it. Place marker, your ping button, D. I have it on D, which is an index finger bind. So if I want to ping something, just do that. That. Double, right? Right, that's what I do. That's my ping bind. I just have it on D. I'm used to it. Besides that, push to talk, I don't use. Chat, enter, self-explanatory. Emote though, I have on something else. It's R. Because I have a more important bind on the B key, which is normally your emote bind. So I just switched it to R. See? I'm not gonna emote, but just know it's R. Index finger bind. So I switched it off of B. Let's see. Okay. My long-awaited pickaxe bind. You might be wondering, toggle pickaxe, that's F2. Isn't that pretty weird? Yes, it seems pretty weird. But remember, with the F1 key, which is my switch quickbar key, right? I never press this key. I never press F2. Well then, how do I pull up my pickaxe? How do I do that? Well, that is my little secret. On a GMK joystick, there is a button right here. That is my pickaxe bind. It's a thumb bind, which I'm very used to. On the Mac stick, it's a joystick press-in. It's basically the same thing, let's be honest. So you press it in, or you go to the side with your GMK joystick. On the Mac Stick, it's gonna press in. So that is my Pickaxe Bind. It's a thumb bind I'm very comfortable with. I don't plan on changing it. In GMK, it is bound to your A bind. So, your A controller bind or your X PlayStation bind, right? So, in your controller settings, you have toggle pickaxe set to A for that reason. You have to have this. If you want to keep full 360 controller mode, make sure to bind toggle pickaxe as the same. So I have it on A here, and you might be wondering, well, and how is it registering as F2? When I turn off, my 360 degree controller movement, how does it register as F2? That's where Anti-Micro comes in, another piece of software that I love. In Anti-Micro, which we saw already, you see the A key right here? I have it bound to F2, right here. This little bind, F2. So in Anti-Micro, anytime I click the A key, which is a controller bind, A bind, it registers as an F2 key press. That's all it does. It's literally all it does. It registers as an F2 key press. That's it. So, just doing that. And yes, I'm very comfortable with this bind. For example, just watch. So, say someone's boxed up right here. Pull up my pickaxe. Full box. Say that was definitely a full box. I could just do this. Reset. Say they place another wall. They have to break. Replace. 200. Sit. Very comfortable pickaxe bind for me. Do I recommend it? I do. I don't know how it feels on the Mac Stick. If it's comfortable pressing in with the joystick, but if you have a GMK, it's this little special button. Alright, let's continue. Alright, we already covered these two. Picker wheel I don't use. Cursor mode, however, I do use. Notice I don't have toggle inventory. I use cursor mode. And this is the special bind. This was originally the emo bind, it's B. So my inventory bind is an index finger bind, and it's set to B. Why cursor mode is so special is that it's a hold bind, meaning if I release it, my inventory disappears. That is better than toggle inventory, where you have to click twice to get out of the inventory screen. It's just a hold bind. So meaning I could just swap my weapons and release. Like that. Index finger bind. Definitely use cursor mode instead of toggle inventory if you're on keyboard. Highly recommend it. Toggle map is a less important bind, so kind of important is left alt. And for this bind, it's a ring finger bind. So anytime I'm gonna open my mini map, do that. Pretty used to it, right? Yeah, it's a ring finger bind. See? All right. And then now, let's see what else there is. Down but not out carry when someone is knocked, right? I have it on caps lock, and it's gonna be a ring finger bind for me. I do not feel comfortable using my pinky at all. It's definitely a ring finger bind. And these binds are less important, but I'll just briefly go over them or scroll through them. Every time I have exit on something, it's G instead of E. Switch seat is left control. Honk is default.
I'll just quickly breeze through these. Haven't used Stormwing, so I don't really care. Plain Brute hasn't been in the game since what, chapter 1, season 10 or season X, so important. Boats vaulted right now. Helicopters vaulted.
Cars, though, is kind of important. Switch seat left control, driver exit G, brake, spacebar, boost, left shift, honk, right mouse button, radio's T, next station's E. Really not that important, but yeah, if you want to, I'll just keep scrolling down. Creative, really don't mess with it. Unless I want, like, making a map or something, but I really don't mess with it. Don't mess with these either. LTMs, no. And yeah. Those are my binds. Now I will explain my in-game settings now, and my mouse sensitivity. Alright, now I'm going to explain the rest of my settings. So, obviously I have full screen mode, a less input delay. Resolution, I am a stretch resolution user. I use stretch res. I have it on 1720 by 1080 now. My native res is 1920 by 1080, however. I like stretch res. It's up to you. I like the wider game. I personally like it, so I stuck to stretch res. VSync obviously off. In game. Frame rate limit. It's not really 60. It's a custom one. It's actually 280. If I could get 280. If I just look up in the sky right now, I'm not getting 280, probably because I'm recording. But just note, I do sometimes get 280, and that is my frame cap. Because that is the refresh rate on my monitor. Performance mode, obviously. Brightness 150. This doesn't matter. Colorblind, I have off on PC. I have this disabled. 3D res 100. Distance medium. I might change this to epic for a reason though. Textures and meshes both on low. Low meshes, obviously you have the mobile builds. High meshes are the kind of like bubble wrap builds. But I think you need to move textures up to medium or something. Show FPS on, obviously. Latency markers. I think that's what this top thing is, if I remember correctly. NVIDIA Reflex low latency if you have an NVIDIA GPU, on plus boost. Performance stats disabled, saves kind of resources and FPS. My audio settings, low sound quality, 3D headphones on are probably the most important. Subtitles, I really don't care. Voice chat settings. This should actually be changed to my microphone, but I just have one microphone, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine. Region, it depends on where you live. I live on the west coast of the United States, so I have my region as NA West. This is also my local region. That's why I have 0 ping, right? Or close to 0 ping. It's my region, so I have an NA West. Language, English, toggle sprint on. Definitely leave sprinting as a toggle. Auto open doors, very useful bind actually. Have this on. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Mantle activation, hold jump, never hold forward. Hold forward is weird. Hurdle activation, press jump. Right? Auto swap pickup, I already talked about. It's my secondary use bind, so have it on if you're gonna do that. Toggle targeting, never have this on. Never have it as a toggle, just have it as a press. Never have this bind enabled. Setting, sorry. Auto equip better items, I guess it's useful bind. I haven't seen any, I haven't played any game where I actually did see it being used, but I guess have it on or off preference. Mark danger while targeting. Have on, yeah. Auto pick up weapons, definitely not. Swap fire inputs for Tumba Dump, I just have on default on. Preferred item selects is kind of important though. AR 1, shotgun 2, SMG 3, sniper 4, consumables 5, and obviously if I need to change anything, I just switch real quick. Have a full loadout like this, then this is how it's gonna look. Auto sort consumables, the right, very useful setting. Have this on. Reset building choice on. Turbo building definitely on. I don't know why you would have it off. We're in chapter 6 now. You're not in chapter 1. Editing, I don't use simple edit, obviously. Disable pre-edit, have it off. I do use pre-edit sometimes. Auto confirm edits, I have a none, so I do not use edit on release, nor reset on release. So I do double click my edit bind, which is kind of unoptimal, but I like to confirm my edits for reasons I want to make better peaks, right? So I don't use edit on release. Contextual tips, so obviously if you're playing a game for the first time, I have off. Extra in, I don't really care about the setting. Turbo delete. Video highlights, off. Peripheral lighting, off. Tap to start to interact is actually an important bind. You just tap once and it kind of like cycles through the process. So like if you're opening a chest, you just tap it. If you're reviving your teammate, you just tap your interact button. Simple and helpful. You don't have to hold it. FOV, these are, I just have on. Their emotes, really not important. Replay settings are personal preference. If you want the least delay possible, just have replays off. If you want to review some replays, just enable some, not everything. I don't have high quality replays on. I do have creative replays, no large team replays, I have standard replays on. Energy saving, make sure to turn this off. It could help your FPS. Let's see. These settings. So reticle and damage feedback, same thing. Cumulative, off. I don't like the icons. Damage number scales, I like the original damage number, so I have it on a max. HUD scale 89%, personal preference. I suggest having a lower HUD scale than 100% though. All these settings, I have these two off, this off. I do not use gyro aiming, so I don't mess with this. Keyboard sensitivity, though, is kind of important. Invert mouse view and aircraft controls both off. As for my mouse, I use 1200 DPI. So in between 800 and 1600, right there in the middle. So 1200 DPI, 2.3%, 2.3%, 64%, 64%, 100, 100, 100. I don't mess with them. The building editing sensitivity, I like consistency. Zoom scaling legacy, I haven't messed with this, so I don't know if this is good or not. Ignore controller input off, obviously for the controller movement. Lock input method as mouse, probably the most important setting for joystick users, on. Custom diagonals, 45, 68, 135. If you recognize these are actually the Skybase double movement settings, so I'm kind of seeing if I could Skybase on keyboard joystick. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe it'll not. Maybe it won't. I'll see. I'll see though. Touchpad I don't use. Mouse fly 100. Tank settings off. Already discussed keyboard binds. Controller settings. I don't use controller. I was a controller player before, but I don't use it. Invert controller view off. I'll just go through these settings real quick. Have vibration off if you're a controller player. Linear, it's personal preference though. Look dampening 0. Aim assist 100 obviously. Deadzone is kind of important for joystick. I have on a 9%. I believe it can go down to 5 though. This joystick is pretty cool. Pretty, kind of like a PS4 joystick. So I have it on 9 right now. Foot controller I don't use, so I have it off. Controller binds, I'm not going to explain them, but I'll just scroll through. Pause if you want to copy them for some reason. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to show you some gameplay. real quick gameplay of me using these binds, of me using the beautiful GMK joystick. So obviously this is the end of the video. I'll show the gameplay at the end. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Obviously you don't have to subscribe, but it'll really help me. And if you like this content, just tell me, obviously. And then a very important shout out to Felvin, who suggested this hand cam of how I play Fortnite. Keyboard, GMK joystick, or max stick, and the mouse. So yeah. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace out.
Oh my days, bro. Like, I literally pushed someone and then all of you guys just... Holy shit. Your phone died? My phone's about to die. Hold up, bro. There you go. Oh, okay, we get it. Like, you're gay. Yes, I am.
Sigma?
Oh my days. Okay, if one person's fighting me, can one leave me alone? I gotta plug my phone in, it's about to die. Oh my days, I literally put a gun.
Sigma? Let's go.